time travel should look. Its lava was oatmeal, its future palace had parking lines, and its famous machine was later found in a thrift shop. But its strangest mystery involves 3 books that were never named. Before 1960, movie time travel often looked more like a dream than a real journey. A person might get hit on the head, walk through a strange door, or meet a ghost that showed the past and future. Filmmakers had not created a clear screen language for someone sitting inside a machine while years raced around them. Then George Pal made The Time Machine. The film cost less than $1 million and had only 29 days of shooting. Yet its crew created images that still feel magical. The traveler sits still while flowers bloom, buildings change, shop window clothes move through new styles, and day turns into night in seconds. This became a model for later time travel stories. The movie came from H.G. Wells's novel, published in 1895. Wells was not the first writer to imagine time travel, but he helped make it feel scientific. His traveler did not use a spell. He built a machine. Before we go deeper, like the video and subscribe to the channel. We share the hidden stories behind classic movies, forgotten effects, and the people who changed cinema. Now let us step into the machine and learn why this small film became so important. The original book was much darker than the movie. Wells wrote about a future where humanity had split into 2 groups. Above ground lived the Eloi. They were gentle and attractive, but they had almost no strength, courage, or useful knowledge. Beneath the ground lived the Morlocks. They worked with machines, avoided daylight, and had become frightening hunters. This was not only a monster story. Wells was writing about class. The Eloi came from wealthy people who lived easy lives. The Morlocks came from workers who spent their lives underground in factories. Over thousands of years, the 2 classes became different kinds of humans. The cruel twist was that the workers, once controlled by the wealthy, had taken control. The Morlocks raised the Eloi like farm animals. Wells was warning that a badly divided society could create a terrible future. George Pal did not want to end with that message. Pal was a hopeful filmmaker. In his version, the division between Eloi and Morlocks was not mainly caused by class. It was caused by war, especially the fear of nuclear war. That change fit audiences in 1960. The Cold War shaped daily life. Families heard about powerful weapons. Children practiced emergency drills. People feared that one attack could destroy whole cities. Pal added stops during the traveler's journey. George, the name given to the traveler, visits 1917, 1940, and 1966. At each stop, buildings disappear, fashion changes, friends grow older, and war returns. Finally, an attack forces people either underground or away from the city. These scenes connect Victorian England to a modern audience. George does not simply jump to the distant future. He watches his own world slowly vanish. The role of George was not easy to cast. Pal considered respected British actors, including James Mason, but he decided the hero needed to be younger and more physical. This traveler would have to run, climb, battle Morlocks, and protect others. He chose Rod Taylor, an Australian actor who had not carried a major film. Taylor gave George a mix of intelligence, courage, and kindness. He looked like a man who could build a machine and survive a dangerous underground fight. Taylor later appeared in Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds and was even connected to the role of James Bond. Yet he said people asked him about the time machine more than almost anything else he made. The casting of Weena was even more unusual. Yvette Mimieux was only 17 and had almost no acting experience, although she told the studio she was 18. At first, she struggled, but she learned quickly and her confidence grew during filming. Pal thought she had improved so much that he reshot some early scenes to match her later work. Mimieux soon became one of MGM's rising stars. Alan Young played David Philby, George's closest friend. He also appeared as Philby's son and in scenes showing the family across time. His work reminds us that time travel is also about losing people left behind. Young later became famous in Mr. Ed and as the voice of Scrooge McDuck. He was the only actor from the 1960 film to appear in the 2002 remake. But the biggest star may be the machine itself. Pal did not want it to look like a rocket. He wanted something Victorian and elegant. He remembered the shape of a horse-drawn sleigh from his childhood in Hungary. The machine had a long, sled-like base and a huge spinning disc behind the seat. The controls looked like brass and crystal. The chair was covered in deep red velvet. A small plate read, "Manufactured by H. George Wells," joining the names of George Pal and H. G. Wells. The spinning disc looked like a clock, a sun, and a turning wheel. When it moved faster, the audience understood that time was speeding up. No long explanation was needed. The machine became one of science fiction's most famous props. But after filming, it almost disappeared. Pal kept a smaller filming model at home. It was destroyed in the 1961 Bel Air fire. The full-size machine went into MGM storage and was sold at the 1971 MGM auction for nearly $10,000. Film collector Bob Burns wanted it, but another buyer paid more. 5 years later, Burns's friend entered a thrift shop in Orange County. Among old furniture sat the time machine. It was badly damaged. The velvet seat was gone. Parts were cracked. But the great disc was still there. Burns rescued it, and Pal supplied the original plans for a 4-week restoration. Several helpers later became science fiction legends. One was Dennis Muren, who became a leading artist at Industrial Light and Magic. His work helped bring Star Wars, Terminator 2, and Jurassic Park to life. He won 9 Academy Awards. Another was D.C. Fontana, who became one of the most important writers linked to Star Trek. A machine from science fiction's past was being repaired by people who would help build its future. The restored prop later appeared in Carl Sagan's Cosmos and Gremlins. A full-size version also became part of a joke in The Big Bang Theory, where it blocks the character's staircase. The original effects were made without modern computers. To show days and nights passing, cinematographer Paul Vogel used a circular shutter about 7 feet wide. It had colored sections. Pink suggested dawn, clear light meant day, and blue meant night. As it spun in front of the camera, time seemed to pulse. One beautiful shot shows a tree growing and producing fruit in seconds. It looks like real time-lapse photography, but artist Bill Brace painted each stage frame by frame. When the pictures played quickly, the painted tree seemed alive. The destruction of London used an even stranger material. The lava was oatmeal. The crew mixed oatmeal with orange and red coloring, then poured it down a tilted miniature street. On camera, the thick mixture looked like lava filling a city, but it had been prepared too early. Under hot studio lights, it began to ferment. By the time filming started, the end of the world smelled like old breakfast. Money problems forced many smart tricks. The Eloy Dome had no real ceiling, so the crew used sunlight. Costumes from Forbidden Planet appeared in the air raid scenes. Volcanic footage came from Pal's earlier film When Worlds Collide and was later reused in Atlantis, the Lost Continent. The Great Eloy Hall hid another secret. It was built over part of the studio parking area. In some shots, white parking lines can still be seen on the floor because the crew was moving too fast to cover them fully. The Morlocks needed a different kind of trick. Makeup artist William Tuttle visited the San Diego Zoo and watched how apes moved. He wanted the creatures to feel heavy and animal-like. He used green latex, rough hair, and small lights inside the head. The eyes glow. It was simple, but the result was unforgettable. Tuttle's work helped movie makeup gain respect. He later received specifically for makeup achievement, before makeup became a regular Oscar category. The Time Machine won the Academy Award for visual effects. It also earned about $2.6 million worldwide, nearly 3 times its cost. MGM wanted more. A sequel called Return of the Time Traveler was planned. Rod Taylor and Yvette Mimieux were expected to return. The story would have included Atlantis and ideas removed from the first film. One involved giant crabs. In Wells's novel, the traveler goes far beyond the age of the Eloi and Morlocks. He reaches a dying Earth beneath a large red sun. Crab-like creatures move across a silent beach as the planet. Pal wanted to film this, but stop-motion crabs cost too much. The sequel might have included them, with stop-motion master Ray Harryhausen linked to the idea. Then MGM changed management, and the sequel was cancelled. Pal spent years trying to revive it. He died in 1980 without making it. The ending of the 1960 film was very different from the book. In Wells's story, Weena dies. The traveler escapes and later sees Earth slowly fading. The message is cold and painful. Pal chose another path. George returns to 1900, speaks to his friends, and disappears again. Philby notices that 3 books are missing. George has taken them to the future, where he plans to reunite with Weena and help the Eloi rebuild. But the film never tells us which books he chose. That mystery has lasted for decades. Would he take books about science, farming, medicine, engineering, language, or history? Perhaps the real question is, which ideas humanity would need to begin again? The film also contains hidden jokes. Pal was friends with Walter Lantz, creator of Woody Woodpecker. In The Time Machine, a Woody Woodpecker laugh can be heard during the Eloi scenes. During the air raid, a girl drops a Woody Woodpecker toy and runs back to collect it. The sets had long lives too. George's Victorian home later appeared in episodes of The Twilight Zone. The grand staircase had already been used in the 1944 film Kismet. The crew also helped build the next age of entertainment. Hua Chang, who worked on the machine and creatures, later created famous Star Trek items, including the communicator, phaser, tricorder, and tribbles. Editor George Tomasini later cut Hitchcock classics such as Psycho and The Birds. Dennis Muren helped lead modern visual effects. D.C. Fontana helped define Star Trek storytelling. William Tuttle helped turn makeup into an honored film craft. This rushed 29-day production became a meeting place for people who influenced science fiction for the next half-century. The film also shaped later time machines. In a 1993 documentary, Michael J. Fox sat in the restored prop and discussed its connection to Back to the Future. The DeLorean looked different, but the basic idea remained. The traveler sits inside a device while time and space change around it. A television version appeared in 1978. A bigger remake followed in 2002, directed by Simon Wells, the great-grandson of H.G. Wells. It had modern effects and a direct family link to the author. Yet many viewers still prefer the 1960 version. George Pal changed the novel in major ways. He reduced its class message, replaced its bleak ending, and added nuclear fear, romance, action, and hope. But those changes gave the film its own heart. Wells warned that society could divide, decay, and disappear. Pal answered that knowledge, courage, and kindness might still change the future. Wells saw a warning. Pal saw a second chance. That is why the 3 missing books matter. George does not return with weapons, gold, or power. He returns with knowledge. The exact books are unknown, but the meaning is clear. Civilization can fall. People can forget. Time can destroy almost everything. Yet ideas can survive, and people can begin again. The time machine was built quickly and filled with oatmeal, painted trees, glowing masks, and bold ideas. More than 6 decades later, its greatest effect is still hope, the belief that the future is not fixed, and that knowledge may help humanity rebuild it.